name is Andreina Cruz, and I was born in New York, but I am from Dominican Republic. So the tiny picnic, honestly, it started with a love of events. It started with a love of being outside. During the pandemic and having to be quarantined, there was a lot of stay inside, stay indoors, but every now and then I would go out the front door and I was like, oh, the sun, oh, the trees, and then I had just recently had a baby, so we did a lot of walks together, and we went and started like sitting at the park. So I would bring a blanket and a book, some toys for him, and I really just love the idea of picnicking. Then, of course, in a social media world, I saw on Instagram how people were doing like elaborate picnics, and I'm like, well, I think that I can be really good at that. So it really was just birthed from the idea of wanting to be outside. I want to say both. So externally, it's a lot of physical work to have to carry like tables, umbrellas, weights, just all kinds of bins and blankets, pillows. So physically, it took some time to like get used to like, oh, this is very physical work. But internally, it was more like, am I going to be successful? Can I compete in this market? It's South Florida. It's definitely a competitive market as far as what I do. And then just really saying like, will they like my work? I think that was the number one barrier for me, and what I overcame was saying like, well, some people will, some people won't, and I've been lucky enough to find the ones that do. So to be very honest with you, I learned a lot from watching my family. They're my inspiration. My husband taught me patience. He makes wooden mugs like from scratch. He will literally see a piece of like a palette, a broken palette, and decide, oh, that's art. And I'm like, how? Well, if you do this, this, and this, and this, and with a little bit of patience and a little bit of luck and a little bit of and I'm like, okay, you can really, make something out of nothing. So I learned a lot from him. I learned a lot from watching my son, who is not even 2 and thinks he can literally do whatever he wants. And I promise you, he'll try to climb a tree. And it's like, well, you can't do that, but you believe that you can do that. So I learned a lot from watching him. My parents were a big inspiration to me. My dad always told me, if you wanted to do something, do it. You have to have like that heart of hustle, and you have to have just like that drive and that motivation. My mom was like very, very creative. She taught me everything that I know. And then I have my sisters. My big sister taught me like, you absolutely can be extra about what you're into. You might talk a lot about it, or you might be super passionate about it, very out there in everybody's face, but that's okay, because you're gonna find the people that wanna hear, what you have to say. And my little sister taught me like, be the light. Like as soon as she walks into your room, like everybody's like, oh my God, she's here. So, I just really learned how to be myself and how to really put that into my business just from watching my family. So it's a really fun dynamic, because at first, he is like a hardcore lumberjack is what I call him. So he's all about like, let me just make it, like leave me alone. And I would be like the background social media manager, and I was like really pushing him to like get his name out there. And I'm like, let's, start marketing this. And at first he was on the fence, but again, because he trusts me and I trust him, we were able to like listen to each other. So he's patient enough to show me the ropes when it comes to like everything woodworking, and then just like basically engineering and how you can make something work. Like he builds something out of nothing. I recently had an event where it was a tea party, and it was like an Alice in Wonderland inspired. So we were just driving around the neighborhood, and we found like these really cool old doors, and there was like a red door. And he was like, we can make like a bar out of that. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, how can you make a bar a door? But like, that's his mind, right? And I'm like, that would be amazing, because you have like the looking glass with Alice, so things like that. And we just kind of like start shooting off like our creative fire. And then he's like, oh, this is how we're gonna do it. And then I was like, okay, and then aesthetically, this is how I want it to look like. And then he helps me build it, and I see it in my head, and he makes it happen. And he adds to it. Like, he's super passionate about making things different, and it's like, whoa, you don't see that every day, Yeah, so I do all kinds of events, weddings, bridal showers, everything. And for me, it's really kind of what my husband taught me as well, to create something out of nothing. My mom was in a world of events, right? So I grew up in it, and you just take an empty room and you just throw in chairs and linen and tables and flowers, and just anything can really enhance the space. So for me, it's all about the tiny details, right? My play on words. It's all about the tiny details. Those are the ones that really like draw you into the experience, because it can be the smallest thing as just like, a little place card, and it's like, oh, what a nice detail. I'm sitting here and this is my place card with my name. What does it look like? What does it feel like? The texture, how does it tie into like the overall tablescape? So things like that, just like making things work from so many different elements, I think that really is like the best part. I think to me, I feel very like connected to them, because I'm like, wow, you noticed that I put in the time, the effort, the energy into making sure that even this tiny detail ties into the overall like aesthetics of the table or aesthetics of the room. In general, whatever the event is, if you just want like a backdrop, like what kind of a backdrop do you want? Do you want to be like submersed in the jungle, or do you want to be like in a winter wonderland? Like, what can we do to make it outside the box and fun? Because at the end of the day, if you're in a winter wonderland, no, you're not standing in the middle of snow, but if we get a bunch of cotton and we put it on the floor, now it looks like snow, on a camera, or just like to the quick, naked eye. So things like that, that's like, wow, you can really create an ambience anywhere as long as you have the right eye and you incorporate the right details. Actually recently I did one where I was able to set up different picnics, like 2 or 3 different picnics, and help different entrepreneurs showcase their products. I think that has been first my most recent, but one of my favorite, because it wasn't just like about the tiny picnic. It wasn't just like, that's a pretty plate or that's a nice floral arrangement. I have somebody who does painted dishes, or even like anything, whatever, candles, like all of those things are elements that you can put in a picnic. And it was really, really great to be able to get with so many different entrepreneurs to showcase that. And again, to even enhance the fact that you can create from so many different elements and so many different people can contribute to one project. I'm gonna bring it back to my parents. Like I said, my dad was really, I want something, I'm gonna get it. And I 100% have his heart of hustle. Like, my dad was all about the grind, like, oh, we're gonna get creative about this, right? The creative hustle. And my mom was just the inspiration to say, if you're gonna do something, do it with passion, because that's what you want the world to see, but that's how you want to feel inside. You want to make sure that like, I'm setting up this table and it's coming from within you, and that's how you're able to showcase, for me, like just, emotionally, how you're able to showcase like what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, what I want to do is by creating something with my hands, I danced around for a hot minute. I was like, oh my God, they want to pay me to do this. I was freaking out a little bit about it, but it really was actually the push that I needed to say, hey, like, people do want to book me in my eye, right? Like I said, it's a competitive market, but I feel like people are able to appreciate all the details and the hard work that I put into things. I was able to really showcase how I feel about my business by saying that I'm a storyteller. So when I have a client, I really ask them, what kind of a vibe are we going for your picnic? What colors do you want to see? What are we celebrating? And then I might ask you a personal detail, like if you're surprising your girlfriend, like, what is her favorite food? What's her favorite color? And we'll just, incorporate it that way and make it even more special. So I think I decided that's probably the day that I got my first paid booking. And I'm like, okay, maybe it's one a year, but I think that if I put in the work to this, then I can actually make this something. And I did. So that one person that, gave me that chance, I owe it a lot to them. They know who they are, and, they know this, but yeah, I do owe a lot to them. My vision for the Tiny Picnic really is to take it where it's not just so much about picnics, but I'm actually being hired as a creative, right? So I want now people to hire me like for my creative mind and for my vision, and to be able to trust it. They've seen what I can do, with a table for 2. So, let me do it for a table for 200. That's just my path right now. That's my vision, my goal, because I really do love what I do. I think it shows. I hope it shows, and I want to help other people love what they do and do what they do better. Not be afraid to put yourself out there, take that next step. I want everybody to be as confident as they want to be in their passion, in their business. And I'm getting there, and I want to help others get there, and that's what I'm striving for. Yes. So the Tiny Picnic, check it out on Instagram. We're also on TikTok. We'll do a table for 2, we'll do a table for 20 right on the beach, hear those ocean views. That's exactly what you want from us. And a very huge bonus, if you're a beer drinker, if you like wine, if you drink any kind of liquid, we also supply handmade wooden mugs from the Tiny Mallet design, and you can catch us on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok.